Okay, this is the last effort, and I'm going to talk with you about another project that just started 6 months ago, something like that. It's a service supply chain. Is again another national project in collaboration with Queensland. It actually is in collaboration with Queensland and a ton of other states. This is a really complex it's the end of the day. It's a really complex project with a lot of commodities. There is avocado, mango, strawberries, summer fruit, and quite a few vegetables as well. It is related to service supply chain, so the maintenance and the understanding of management of the risks and deliver consistent quality at the end of the supply chain, and this is mostly for export. As I said, it's quite complex. There are a lot of participants. There is Hort Innovation, of course, is one of the major funding agency, is the funding agency actually, but there is Queensland government, ours, Northern Territory, Victoria, and then several other even private industry in it as well, that they actually participate with actual cash. This is a Hort Frontiers program, so then it's quite complicated, and as I said, there is a lot of participants in this project. However, there is the common goal. The common goal is high quality at the end of the supply chain for export, so our produce is actually soaked after. Obviously, considering how far we are in Australia, the closest chain, the closest like Singapore and those kind of things, which are actually, less than a week to actually get there by sea freight, it takes close amount of time to go from North Queensland to Sydney. So at the end of the day, sometimes those kind of shorter chain internationally, they teach a lot in in domestic markets as well. And there are several components. So there is a component of building and monitoring especially, so a lot of monitoring of what is happening, and so the effects that there could be negative on the fruit during the chain. And then there is developing shelf life models, because that becomes the most important thing. Again, is you harvest a good fruit, there is a possibility that you deliver a good fruit. If you don't harvest a good fruit, you will never deliver a good fruit. And so there is the condition of the fruit at harvest and the condition of the fruit during the management of that fruit becomes the driver of when you remove that fruit from the storage, because it has to be stored to deliver it to somewhere. And so then you have a certain amount of days before that fruit goes off. So of commercializable days before that fruit actually is still eatable. And so that is shelf life, that is what is considered the shelf life models, and the remaining shelf life days and all of those kind of things. And we are trying during this project to figure out practical ways, but not only, an actual algorithm that would say that. And there is a development already that is almost being finalized for summer fruit. This is the continuation. In fact, it's called Service Supply Chain 2. The previous one was a 5-year, and that is where most of the stuff, this is a continuation of it, and most of the stuff in summer fruit, where these models that have been developed and teaching the rest of the commodities, has been actually developed. There are a lot of simulations, of course, to be able to do that. We monitor what happened during a real-life supply chain, and then we need to try to simulate it in a lab to be able to actually control and understand which is the component that would affect that final number of days to be put into. And so then see, this one is one of the major important, let's say. It's an important thing that was requested to be delivered during this project, which is a resource portal, because some of these commodities, avocado, I have to say, has one of the best industry website that you can see, that a lot of information is very good. Many others, they don't, and so they decided that it was needed during this project to actually have a portal where a lot of the commodities can go in and learn really what to do and how to do this calculation and make try to deliver better fruit and manage in ways that could go toward that. The several activities, now I'm going to, from the general, to try to get in avocado, but at the end we end up doing very similar things in avocado, what we are doing in the different commodities, and so we are monitoring, as I said, 20 consignment per year with different collaborators. There is all over the country in Queensland and us, of course, and so this consignment we're going to be air freight, sea freight, different location, different final destinations. There is definitely Japan, there is going to be Thailand. I think that not in the first year because it just came up, but in the second year of trial we are going to test India as well, so that there are a lot of monitoring that happens during the supply chain. And we monitor in the quality, of course, of the handling condition, the quality before and after. So we collect the fruit before the shipping, we do all the quality evaluation, and then we do the evaluation when it gets there and at ripening, so we can see what actually is the effect. And we have monitors during the supply, and so in that way we are able to hopefully figuring out where and when is happening the issue, and then we can try to replicate it to figure out an algorithm that is going to tell you a number of days the moment that you harvest that fruit. And and the other important part is that they established a network of assessors. This is at the location, so this is international. There are a group of Queensland, they are doing that actually they went in Thailand, they went in Singapore, they went to Japan, they went to several countries where we are exporting to teach them the correct way and this one single way to evaluate those fruit. So when we actually have the results in saying that consignment was good, that consignment was not good, we can trust that that is actually true. And that would be the same assignment and the same checking that we would do in the lab, that Declan is going to do in the lab later on. And, and so then we have a lot of, as I was mentioning before, predictive modeling and simulation, and seeing what is the impact of the factors of these happenings during the consignments that is going to be translated. And we do that in replicating in lab in lengths of storage and temperatures and conditions during storage. And so we can evaluate the influence of production and harvest and post-harvest. That's important. We'll have the discussion with the growers as well to try to get as much metadata at the end as possible, because, as I said, I don't remember if it was in this or the other one, if you actually harvest a bad fruit, you're not going to deliver a good fruit. And so the practice, and especially the spray regime, that is incredibly important, during that production, it's going to be translated continuously, and so it has an effect, and it needs to be counted when we do the model for figuring out how many days actually is left for that fruit. There is going to be a lot of communication. Hopefully, we are going to get a lot of information out. It's really a data-driven model. We do not have too many. In fact, we look in Western Australia just at one component of the avocado part of the supply chain, while really Victoria, Northern Territory for the mango, Victoria for the stone fruit and vegetables, and Queensland for mango and avocado. They do have a lot of people in it. They are doing a ton of trials to try to figure these things. So there will going to be a lot of information generated that then we will translate, hopefully, in this kind of situation. Maybe next year we'll have a lot more data to actually discuss eventually. And what we actually are doing, so currently there has been for Hass and Shepherd, because Queensland, they have a lot of Shepherd, we do not have any. A lot of quality assessment protocols, as I was saying, simulation, there has been happening a lot. We trained already Japan and Singapore, the assessors for making sure that the quality is assessed correctly. And we already monitored 4 consignments from Western Australia, Central Queensland, the far North Queensland, and all of those kind of things, both sea and air. There is simulations. The simulations for creating the model has been already for last year done, and we are building the model up. Well, it's not going accordingly, and that's easier. And so then there is actually quite a lot of new simulations that we are planning of doing, both here and in Queensland. And there is different temperatures. There is a thought that for people that actually they are trying to lower the temperature more and more to keep a longer supply chain, a longer shelf life, but then it's still a tropical fruit, so you risk chilling injuries, and so there is a thought of actually having a preconditioning of temperature, and then of a certain temperature, at 5 in this case, and then drop it at 3 to have a longer shelf life. And this is being tested for Thailand. And then there is a lot of discussion and, as I said, a lot of information delivery possibly, and articles that they will be created. This is what we actually get from the assessors that we train to actually try to do. So there is different information. For the industry, that means for you guys that you get the report to whoever is the one that actually is deliver things. And so then you actually have, that is going to tell you what is the consignment and how it was and what actually is the result. As you can see, of the 3 that we had, this was good. The other, this maybe 20% of fruit that they actually were not so, they had less than 10% damage. Well, no, more than 10% damage is pretty a lot. The 90 is acceptable, 60, this wasn't too good, but it was quite late season, and we don't know exactly, I actually don't know which was this consignment, and I'm actually not going to say it anyway, but the thing is, then we can know which it is, and then we go back and discuss why actually we had this form of result compared to, and that one still is not so acceptable. And then there is, instead that is for packers and exporter to figure out what is there, so that this is all information, quality information that we are trying to deliver, so then people, they can start organizing and managing for the next one. A bit of a result sometimes, so there is different reason of why things they can go. This is the experiment, as you can see, from the different temperatures. In Queensland, they tested 3, 5, 7, 10, 15 degrees, and this was the preconditioning. So it was 3 days, I think, at 5, and then they dropped it at 3 degrees for the rest. This is the length of the duration, and this is the firmness. Firmness is done with the Turoni, is actually a durometer, is not really, it's a sort of elastometer, it measures the elasticity, is non-destructive, and so it is what the industry uses to actually figure out when the fruit is to be eaten, and that is the firm ripe and soft ripe, the mix between the two, which is 40, that is when the fruit is actually good to eat. And as you can see, there has been an effect of dry matter, as we noticed this factor, that a higher dry matter made the entire curves, and especially the one at 15 degrees, but especially the time to soft ripe. So that means this is the remaining shelf life after they've been removed from storage. And so at a lower dry matter, 5 to 11 days to get to soft ripe, but a higher dry matter was 2 to 9 days only in a simulated practically shelf condition in a supermarket. And so there is an effect of dry matter. The higher dry matter, the faster the fruit ripens, and that is a condition that needs to be in the model practically. This one is to understand the controlled atmosphere. They did a trial in air and controlled atmosphere between the two, and here you have the days of the length of the storage. So it went up to 29 days at 5 degrees in pure air or in controlled atmosphere. And this is the important that we need to look at, which is the incidence of the fruit that they had. Oh, this is the wrong way. Is less than 10% combined issues. So the higher the number here, the best is the response. And we can see that the highest storage period, we can end up having that in air, they had, it's correct. It's the number of fruit with higher than 10%. So there was 90% of the fruit that they were not good, commercializable good, and 100% at 29 days of storage. While instead in a controlled atmosphere, there was very low amount of fruit that they ended up actually having issues. So controlled atmosphere at 5 degrees for mostly it looks like was body rot issues. It does actually have an effect. It prolongs shelf life for those that they can be doing. I know that there are some consignment that they actually, some containers, let's say, that they guarantee controlled atmosphere during sea freight shipping. So could be an option. I'm not sure of the differential costs. This is to check if eventually there is an effect of fruit size. Before was dry matter content. This is same dry matter, but actually size of the fruit. And again, similarly, up to 29 days for large fruit, again, all of them. And practically, it comes out saying that there is a bit in rot, not much. The rot is not affecting. The size of the fruit is not affecting the amount of rot. That means that there is an infection, and that's it, and that is going to be shown. But the chilling injury effect, yes, chilling injury in large fruit, they actually showed a lot more chilling injury at 5 degrees than actually smaller fruit. And this is our smaller, because this is what we could do last year for man-wise, manpower. This is our small trial that we did here. We did 2 different temperatures, 5 and 7 degrees. 20 degrees is the control, so meaning is the ripening. So at harvest, we collected the fruit and we just left them and see how many days they actually end up to soft ripening. And these are the number of weeks, so up to 28 days, comparable to the 29 that Queensland did. And this is the number of fruit which had damage. So no, they did not have damage. And so practically, you can see that, all of them, they were pretty good up until starting to get at higher degrees a bit. And the length of storage, they started showing damage. 68 is quite a bit of damage that you would get. It's not really acceptable, while 93 is still fine. While there was no damage at all at harvest. In number of days for actually of ripen, to ripen, there was not much difference neither in temperature and neither in length. So practically this fruit, because they were 41% of dry matter, was really one of the latest harvests that they actually happened in the state. And so there was practically no difference in length of remaining shelf life. And I think, yes, now we are going to repeat this for another couple of years to try to get all the different simulation. And now I would like to ask and have a bit of a feedback from what you guys think, because we have a limited amount of possibilities. So we can test here 3 temperatures or different conditions such as fruit size, dry matter, or whatever. I would like to know from you guys. You can contact either me or Declan or Milan, any of us, and let us know what you think would be good thing to test for us. Then we go and aim what you think it actually is that you would like us to see what affects the shelf life at the end. And thank you. With this, I'm done.
Anyone got suggestions for Dario?
Running running real well. Is that on? You're doing just temperature differences, but isn't also just the oxygen levels? So if they were doing CA, are different of oxygen levels and air?
We have a bit of difficulties in doing that because our CA chambers currently, they are for the apples, and I'm not so sure that that they would do the same atmosphere. And currently, I'm fixing our CA chambers that I have the possibility of doing it, but it's going to take a bit of really work. I'm not sure I can do CA this coming year, unfortunately.
I think, yeah, I'll show you stuff on what we've done, and yeah, had some really good results doing it, and just in small batch. But my other question was, they're doing the trials. Is that the storage temperature? Do you do that all just here, or was it testing it overseas at the condition it was then?
Both.
Both.
We do test here,
Yeah.
and to simulate and to verify that the things are happening the same, and we definitely test overseas on the fruit that we actually send from here to there.
Yeah, would be much difference in that? Obviously, simulation should be what's happening on the ship as well, if it's just kept in.
Yeah, roughly, yeah. But sometimes during the monitoring, there are quite a bit of fluctuations in temperature sometimes, and so that would affect stuffs, and that helps us in figuring out the models. The major issue sometimes is passing the equator. You don't have any idea how much of, I don't know. And when you inquire with the sea freight guys, they say that they don't know. But how much of a spike many times happens in temperature going up to 10 degrees during the passage of those 2 days at the equator.
Yeah, and that would be like a lot of stuff out of our control, then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's the point. But that's where the difference eventually that's why we do the international assessing, not only the simulation here. The simulation tries to actually get a perfect equation, and then with the international assessing, we try to figure and put those variations in it, because there are. Yeah. And so we're trying to integrate the whole.
Dario, this is probably not in your area of expertise, but has there been any investigation into the difference in our packaging in terms of box size and liners with storage length as opposed to other exporting countries like South Africa and Chile, who use a 4 kg box with no liners?
Not really, no, because this is what most of the time the industry uses. I know that there has been that done internationally in different crops in trying to figure exactly the best packaging. Stone fruit is reacting to that. They did the trial, and they figured out that is a bit better, and they are reacting and changing a bit their packaging. I'm not sure. It's a good question. It's a good suggestion that I will discuss with the colleagues in Queensland to see if that actually could be one possible variability to do during the simulation, because then we have the control and figuring out exactly what could actually do. That's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Is there a recommended upper dry matter limit now? I thought 41% would be above the recommended eating quality.
It doesn't really matter at the end. Those fruit, they were, you wouldn't believe how good they were, those fruit, actually, because we ended up tasting them to make sure that there was not only visual, but actually even taste-wise. And so we actually got a bite out of them. Man, those things were good. So I'm not sure that there is actually that from a perspective of the quality of the fruit, but we definitely showed that it does, the higher the dry matter, the faster it goes to ripen, independently from when you take it out. It did last nicely, the 4 weeks in storage, but as soon as it came out, man, it was fast ripening. While instead some of the Queenslanders at 23, 24, or something like that, they ended up over 11, 12 days before they were actually ready to eat. While we got maximum of 6.
Thank you. Were those source orchards in 3 parts of Australia using the same fungicide treatments over the development of those crops?
No. And that is the part that we need to look into and integrate into the model as well. And that's the discussion that happens once we have the assignments and when we have the responses, then we go back and we try to figure out what were the conditions of production to make sure that that was the solution, and trying to figure that part out, yes.
Yeah.